To our viewers and listeners, wherever you are, it's a pleasure to be here, and I hope that you're enjoying yourself and you're trying to cope regardless of the challenges, because it's been a worldwide thing. Even for those outside Nigeria, the season, the climatic condition has been crazy.
Yes.
It's been...
It's unpredictable.
Seriously.
I think that's the word to describe it.
Yeah, seriously. In Europe, in North America, it's been serious. In fact, for a lot of Nigerians that have actually, run abroad, some of them are actually sending pictures and videos that, is this what you want to come and do? Better probably stay put to where you are, because the conditions that it's freezing weather.
Yes, I don't know if it's photoshopped, but there was this person using hammer to decongest his pipe. The external pipe had ice block, and as he hit it, I don't know if you saw that video going around. It was
I can't even see it, but because I have seen, seriously, you're seeing crazy temperatures, minus whatsoever degrees. So it's actually freezing temperatures, and
it's freezing hot here for us. The heat here is
crazy. Seriously, you take a shower in the afternoon and you just come out of the bathroom and you're already sweating.
You're dripping. You're not sweating, you're dripping.
And you're like, goodness, what should I do now?
Subhanallah.
So
and that's just a taste. Subhanallah, this is here. You
seriously, don't sometimes when my wife, would say that, in fact, sometimes probably occasionally when we probably pray at home, and by the time we finish praying, you already soaked, and you're like, may God not allow us to enter hell. Seriously.
That's a very...
you're not yet in hell, and you're feeling like that on this earth. And now imagine. So hell is unimaginable. You can't even compare. So may we never be, inmates of hellfire.
Ya Rab. Let's get cracking. I want to start off with Ibadan explosion, and that's because I've... in the course of the week, I listened to different programs across different radio stations, TV stations, multiple, what's the word now? Conspiracy theories, multiple stories around what actually went down, what didn't go down, what is apparent, what is not apparent. What do we know for real? Information gathered is that the explosives were taken to a residential area.
Yeah.
So the question begs, how, if they did have, I know there's a statement credited to the governor that it was illegal mining. What does that mean exactly? Because an analyst on one of the popular radio stations, Lagos state-owned stations, actually challenged the governor about that statement. That was a, ludicrous statement, because if you say it's illegal, how did they go unabated? How did they go unnoticed all along? And then for all you care, they may have had a legal license to operate in mining operations. However, the way and mannerism is what is illegal, and all of that. So all that is to be clarified. But what do we know from your end, and where are we now, and what measures have they taken? How far with the investigation? We keep hearing this investigation thing, and then a few hours, and it'll be another, another story.
The reality of our country is the fact that we claim to practice federalism, but we actually practice a unitary system of government ever since 1966, when we had the first coup and the constitution was suspended. So that was when the federal structure was actually suspended. So every other thing that we've had since then is actually a democracy in the real sense of it. It's not a federal structure. It's actually a unitary system, a feeding bottle system where, the constituent parts of the country, look up to Abuja for survival. On a monthly basis, they go cap in hands to Abuja to receive, handouts from the federal government. And that's the kind of system that we operate. Now, as far as the Ibadan explosion is concerned, first, our condolences to the families of, those...
Sorry to cut in. I saw the picture. If I didn't read the caption, I would have just scrolled past and say, oh, this is another Gaza picture.
Seriously. So you got exactly what was on my mind.
I saw it and I saw Gaza.
And so like, no... was this a mistake? Is this probably a picture
caption
of Gaza, being attributed to Ibadan?
Yeah.
So now I think probably for a lot of people who think that the issue of Gaza is about religion, for them to really have an idea of the humanitarian crisis that's actually going on in that place, and the situation of the Palestinians, the Gazans, and with the level of bombardment they have received, from the Israeli government, weapons supplied by the United States of America, Britain, and other Western powers. We need probably to underline that. But then, you're only trying to understand the fact that, now, they're saying that, although the official death toll is just around 5. I'm saying official death toll because I'm trying to imagine, such a catastrophe of such proportion. Of such a proportion. You're saying that it's just probably the casualties just 5. I think probably someone is being clever by half, or we're only trying to do damage control. So because people will probably go crazy if they probably eventually get to know about the real figures of the casualties from that explosion. Now, it's an explosion. Now, this is not a bomb. Now, imagine Gazans actually being bombed with the latest of technological weapons. So let's go back there. So, we had an explosion. So, the fact of the matter is there was an explosion. Now, what caused that explosion is still subject to investigation. Although the government of Oyo State came out to actually denounce, some of these conspiracy theories, whether it was a terrorist attack, whether it was, an external attack, probably from some foreign government or whatsoever, or probably it's, some terrorists trying to, invade southwestern Nigeria, because Oyo State actually been the hotbed of, this Odua nation, agitation. So people are also attributing that probably, these northerners have come again.
In fact, the first story that broke was linked to Baba Konde's birthday because it happened on his birthday, right? It was on the evening of his birthday celebration. So people started to connect certain dots, or dignitaries and all the politicians will be around.
Could it be an attempt to? Then another thing is for us to actually look at it, our town planning laws and the kinds of activities actually go on. Although it's a residential area, so you really cannot, and as far as the association of that estate where that incident happened is concerned. In fact, the chairman of that estate is actually a former deputy governor of Oyo State. Happens to be the chairman of the residential association of that estate. And he said the owners of that particular building where that incident happened are those who have actually been, forthcoming and responsive in terms of their obligations to the community, payment of their dues and things like that. So it's not as if probably it's just some, random set of people. There are people that they know. Although, say, some of them are actually foreigners, and that's a fact, but then they are staying in that estate, they live there. So, but a lot of people really are unaware of the kinds of activities that they are engaged in, and the kinds of things that actually get, to be brought into such an area. A lot of times, we'll talk about the fact that we need citizen journalism. We need citizens to be responsive. That if you see something, say something. It is for us to really, it's not just because of government. I think it's about the government. It's actually about us. And for us to really be very, very careful and observant of things happening around us. Now, you see, a lot of times you just see probably a truckload of, a consignment being offloaded. And in a residential area for that matter. And they will say, it's just a warehouse that they have there or something like that. In the
residential area.
And unfortunately, so you have some of these things, and it's like some of these materials that have been stored there are actually explosives. Now, linking it to illegal mining. Now, Oyo State is actually blessed with a lot of mineral resources.
Yes.
And minus that is the fact that we practice, like I said, we practice a unitary system where mineral resources are actually items owned by the federal government, and such operations fall under the exclusive legislative list where it's only the federal government that can grant such a license. Now imagine a federal government, probably one minister in Abuja, granting license to a foreign company to exploit a mineral resource in a particular state without having a recourse to the governor of the state or the chairman of the local government of where such a resource is located. And at the end of the day, probably we don't even know whether the governor is even aware that such a company has a license. But then I believe that if probably such if the governor has such an information, he would not have claimed illegal mining. But he knows quite well that mining is actually going on in the state. He cannot claim ignorance of that. So, but then whether these people are licensed or not, that's another issue entirely. And I think that is an issue that the state government and the federal government really needs to sit down to really tackle. But then it's a case of, so you mean these people undertake these assignments, illegal mining is going on, and you have probably not made an official complaint to the government or to security agencies to really, find out who these people are, where they are carrying out their activities, who granted, whether they are licensed or not, and if at all anything is coming to the state. Because I expect that even if at all such a thing is happening, you either get probably VAT from that, or you get to be paid royalties, or at the same, or probably even this derivation or something. If the South people states get the all producing states, not South, in all producing states get 13% derivation. So if at all you don't have a mineral resources in your particular state, then you should be getting something. But then, so people are also now saying the fact that when it comes to the oil of the Niger Delta, we say it belongs to the whole of Nigeria. But for other mineral resources in every other state, it belongs to that particular state. Just like the case of Zamfara, when they are saying gold. That, the gold, and they are saying, they've lodged about 50 billion naira worth of gold or something like that in the vault of the Central Bank of Nigeria. So does that mean now the gold of Zamfara belongs to Zamfara alone, but the oil in the Niger Delta belongs to every one of us? So, and I think that at this juncture, we really need to, two things. We really need to restructure. Go back to the issue of restructuring, whether we like it or not. You see, we can't run away from it. If we want to practice fiscal federalism, which is actually what we need at this point in time. And unfortunately, what I find amazing is the fact that, see, the set of rulers that we have now, when they were in the opposition, these were the people that were actually mouthing fiscal federalism, resource control, and other things like that. Now they are in control, but we have actually we decided to close chapter on that particular. So the aspect of, resource control by states is something we really need to revisit, and that is the issue of restructuring from that angle. Another thing is the issue of security, because I feel like if the state, you say we have Amotekun, but it's more like an informal security arrangement, because as far as although there is a law backing it up, but then I think that if we also decide to restructure the security system, when we decentralize the security system, we have a federal police, we also have state police, or probably even local sheriffs, local police, so that at the end of the day, as if at all I'm operating at the level of the local government, I'm probably a security agent at that level. So I'll be able to see these things happening. I can quickly alert that if it's beyond me, I know it's the federal government that's actually doing that. I escalate it to the state should escalate to the federal government. So that at least we can actually, quickly take action on this. But a situation where someone from Zamfara is actually posted to actually become the commissioner of police, you say, and doesn't understand, different areas and different activities going on, and you expect such a person to be on top of the game when it comes to security, and I think we are really joking.
My final words on that issue. I just want, I hope that the investigation will reveal certain things.
Unfortunately, the reality is we don't get
came into the country.
See, who
monitored it to its destination.
There's supposed to be multi-sectoral, cooperation when it comes to geosecurity, because you're talking about the fact that, see, we don't produce dynamite in Nigeria.
Some people are even saying that effect that you saw in those pictures
goes
could
beyond
not have been caused
dynamite.
by dynamite. That's even the crux of the matter.
Now, the reality is, whatsoever explosive
could have caused
such, damage, or the kind of damage or such a proportion that we witnessed in Oyo State. So I think that we really need to question the Nigerian customs.
Absolutely.
We really need to question the Nigerian Ports Authority.
True.
We really need to question Nigerian Immigration Service, because we are talking about the fact that, they said the CAC of the company operating in that building, or that owns that building, the people that are in that building, the company that they registered, has foreign names. That you are talking about Malians. Now, the reality is, would you say that the Nigerian Immigration Service is unaware of the presence of these people? Nigerian Customs is unaware of, the importation of some of these materials that are used on these mining sites? Are you telling me that Nigerian Ports Authority would probably just clear those such goods just because they have paid? Or would you say they were actually smuggled? If they are smuggled, then Nigerian Customs Service is also, culpable. I mean, so in all of this, I think that for me, I would just say that seriously.
The investigation, right? Let's wait to see what.
For how long? How many of such incidents that are said investigations are ongoing have you actually seen closure to such issues? Before you know it, will just add to the numbers and to the unresolved issues. If we can't resolve that of Bolaige, the death of Bolaige that happened since 2001 or 2002. more than 20 years down the line. So are you telling me it is this one that would unravel?
Okay, let's move to kidnapping, and that's because the last one that caused the young lady that lost her life.
Nabiha.
Yeah, in spite of the fact that they made payments.
Yes. And they said the payment came late.
Subhanallah. So
I can imagine that.
So the NANS, Sharia Council, Southern governors, they demand swift response from federal government. The military have gone ahead to increase the air surveillance in FCT, and they've destroyed some terrorist hideouts. You know, I think for me, I'm not saying the lives of those in FCT are priceless or they are weightier or better than anywhere else in the country. However, FCT is the seat of power. If this banditry and kidnapping can dare happen, and now it's even on a high scale, it's now moving into residential areas and sweeping into homes and sweeping people into their vans and, you know, going in broad daylight. That's the height of it.
See, you know, the brazenness with which these attacks are undertaken, you know, leaves so much to be desired. And I think that at this juncture, there is a real need for us to really call out the security agencies, because, see, we have always been reactive rather than being proactive when it comes to matters of security. Sitting down here, I'm asking myself, what has happened to the lions and tigers that were, you know, running in IG when he was just announced as the IG, and it feels like that I feel like being a tiger and a lion that is ready to devour, you know, some of these, you know, bandits and criminals and things like that. It's less than a year. And the lions and tigers have become chickens and antelopes. It's a pity. That's one. Then number two is also the fact that if this can be happening in the state of power, then automatically no part of Nigeria is safe.
Absolutely nobody
That's
is
true.
safe.
Number three is the fact that if you're to look at it critically, there was this particular comment that was made by the defense minister. That is to tell people that, oh, we should not pay ransom. Yeah. And I think the defense minister really needs to apologize to the sensibilities of Nigerians, because I feel like we are actually being insulted. And I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, that not a single Nigerian, not at this harsh economic condition that they are undergoing, would be willing or be happy to pay anybody a ransom fee. Not even talking about the fact that these ransoms are not even available. These people don't have the money.
They have
and now have to start crowdfunding. We are not crowdfunding, you know, enterprises. We are not crowdfunding innovations. We are not crowdfunding, you know, inventions. We are crowdfunding ransom. Is that not ridiculous? And for the defense minister, who has failed in his duties, or, you know, be part of a government that has failed in its responsibility to provide security and safety for the lives and properties of Nigerians, to not be the one to say that, oh, Nigerians should not, you know, pay ransom or things like that. I'm saying that Nigerians are not interested or are not happy paying this ransom if ordinarily the government has done the needful. So it's because of the failure of governance in terms of provision of security to Nigerians that I actually pushed them to pay this ransom. So I'm trying to imagine what happened to, you know, the National Assembly that tried to criminalize the payment of ransom. And that is the fact that I'm sure if any of their own relatives were actually kidnapped, if there is anything to do more than payment of ransom, they would do, because of the desperation. Not also because when you have actually seen, you know, the seeming heartlessness of these kidnappers, who would say, because the ransom that you demanded came in late, you kill people. In the case of Nabiha, it was not only Nabiha that was killed. Actually, 5 people were killed. Nabiha and some other people. Then you now had the minister saying that people should not pay ransom. Now, these people felt that because that case attracted, you know, national attention, they increased the ransom. that in fact we are no longer collecting just 50 million naira. Now it is actually 100 million. From there, it increased it to about 700 million. Yeah.
Because
and the reality, because see, and everybody, you had a former minister, joining and saying this and that. Now, if you also look at the statement credited to Professor Ali Pantami concerning the fact that when people were challenging, because he said a friend of his actually came up to support, the payment of that ransom with some 50 million naira, just because they just want to get those, ladies out of, captivity. Now you're talking about a family, and people are saying, you made us go through hell because of this name linkage and things like that. So what has happened to it? Because you actually said because of security purposes, so that at least you can actually trace these kidnappers and things like that. So, and we have these kidnappers calling the families of the kidnapped victims, negotiating ransom. So, are you saying that these people cannot be tracked?
They can be tracked.
See, Professor Pantami said these guys can be tracked. It's not as if we don't have the capacity to track. That why the security agencies have failed to utilize such opportunity, they are the ones that can only answer that. And I think that is an indictment on the whole security architecture that we have in this country.
You see, who was it? There was, I don't know if it was a former president that made the statement, or I can't remember now, that if it was Abacha.
That if insurgency lasts beyond 24 hours, that government
security officials that are behind it.
See, one way or the other, you cannot wish that away, and you cannot just throw away that statement. But the reality is that our security agencies are not actually proactive, one. The number two is also the fact that I feel that there is a level of complicity, in the sense that these people, because if anything happens, if you go to the complaint to the police, they'll tell you, you better go and pay so that you get your people out. If that is all you get, is that not probably an encouragement to these people that you need to actually stage, a bolder form of attack, so that these people will know that you guys are not joking? And minus that is also the fact that, the president had actually summoned a meeting. That was a meeting with the security agencies, the heads, and they had their security meeting, as usual. I feel like this is becoming a routine, just like we had under Buhari when we say the president has given marching orders. See, we don't want marching orders, we want results. And the reality is, you must understand the mentality of the people you're dealing with. See, these guys, negotiations with them will never work. And I think, for me, it is the El-Rufai treatment that I think can work with these people. See, bomb them to hell. Bomb them to hell. Kill them. See, negotiating with them will never work. See, although some people tell you an eye for an eye will only leave us with a community of blind people. But the reality is, for these sets of people, see, there is no amount of money that you can give them that will be enough. Rather, what they would do, see, it emboldens them. That if you can do this, then we can even do something more. I think that if you also understand how this actually came about, because it all started from Zamfara, and it moved to different parts of the country. And I'm also saying this because, see, in tackling this, we should not just pay attention to the FCT. By the time you attack the FCT, they will run away from the FCT.
I'll move
to other areas. So why can't we encircle them and you close in? So as you're attacking them, probably from the air, the foot soldiers will be around, because they know they will come in different directions, so they will be ready to finish them off. See, I'm sure they see. It's not as if this thing is
rocket science.
And it's not as if they don't know about this thing. But I think that that will is not on their part to really end this. And one thing they must understand is the fact that, it is us today. It is us today. I won't say more than that.
Right, let's take a look at these poisonous plantain chips. And this, incidentally, when I knew about this was many years ago. It must be about 8 years ago.
Wow.
When I saw a video, somebody was frying plantain chips and was dropping, that tiny ball that becomes nylon, that they melt into nylon. I don't know if you've seen it before. There used to be a warehouse close to my secondary school, so I know those things, and we see them we used to play with them. But those things that they melt to become nylon is thrown into the oil.
Subhanallah.
And so when somebody challenged her, she said, that it thickens the
oil.
So it makes
the
chips strong, and so it doesn't break. That how do you think those chips are sustained? Those guys are the guys that hawk them in traffic, with the way they handle them, They should
doesn't
be
break.
they should be crumbled.
Because
right?
I know quite well when we were small, these plantain chips, we call them Ibekere, yeah, as young chaps. Then when we buy, you see, even as you are buying, as you are even holding, it's breaking.
So how do you?
But you don't have these ones that will be as strong kakaraka like Zuma Rock, and we never really paid attention to it. And I think at this juncture, see,
I must
two
get
things.
rich quickly.
This excessive quest for materialism, get rich quick syndrome, at whatever expense is what is actually killing us, and that is what is taking us. See, a lot of times we keep asking ourselves, how come we are having some of these very strange diseases, and why are we having so much cases of cancer, prevalent in our society, not knowing that it is what we are eating. And the reality is, we're only talking about plantain chips. See, this thing goes beyond plantain chips.
Well, there's a lot more. I mean,
see, the kinds of oil that we consume, that people add chemical to just to make it red, unnecessarily red. That at the end of the day, see, there are different tests. By the time they carry it out on some of these things that we consume, we know quite well that what we are actually taking is just quantity, not quality. And that brings to question the role of NAFTA, the role of Standard Organization of Nigeria in all this, and the role of the FCCPC, consumer protection. That to what extent are we really protecting the interests of consumers in this country? And I think it's important we look at that. Now, that is just on the one angle. On the other angle is that of the citizens themselves. Those who are perpetrating this evil, they know themselves. But you think if it is just because of money, well, you might be selling, might be making money, but you never can tell. Even if some of your family members would also consume some of these things, might not necessarily be produced by you, but by another person, that you know that this is how we do this business. And I remember there was this time too, there was this issue of fufu. Yeah. That they actually add soap to it in order to, So there are so many things that people do just because you feel like it will increase the quantity of this particular commodity, and you can sell and you can make more money at the expense of at the detriment of the health of the people. And on a final notice, a lot of us, where we live, we see some of these activities and we keep quiet. My people would say that you see someone within your community doing something wrong, and you keep quiet. When the consequences would come, see, we would all suffer for it.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we have more news headlines. Back if you're just joining us, it's a beautiful afternoon to you, and it's a news review with Dr. OLUBUNMI. And right now we want to look at the issue of Shell announcing the sale of onshore operations to Renaissance Group. So that's them checking out of the country, is that?
Not really, not necessarily. If you understand the way some of these oil companies have actually been operating for some time now, for about say 5-10 years now, they're actually divesting away from fossil fuel. That's one angle. The other angle is also the fact that if you look at the Nigerian business environment for the oil companies, a lot of them are actually moving away from onshore activities because of so many issues, challenges of pipeline vandalism, kidnapping and so many other challenges with communities and things like that, cases in court, what have you. So they feel like, okay, let us concentrate our efforts on the offshore activities, exploration, export and the likes like that, and leave the onshore activities, of running some of these filling stations or some other things like that, that is so problematic and is affecting their business operation and the models with which they are running. So that is what they are trying to do. So, and it's not just Shell that has done that. ExxonMobil has done the same thing. Chevron, Ajib, and the likes like that. They are also selling off some of these onshore outlets, so that more Nigerians can actually be involved. So we now have this Renaissance group that you have majority of them are actually Nigerians, and a lot of the majority of them are even ex-Shell workers. So they feel like at least they understand the business environment better. They are not living anywhere. They are not going back anywhere or something like that. So at least, okay, let us divest away from it. Let's sell to them. One way or the other, at least. They would also understand the fact that some of the workers in this particular company are also indigenous people. So you're not just think of probably just laying them off. And for the Nigerian government, it's a case of the fact that there are, different hurdles to be crossed. There are different, boxes to be ticked before they can approve of such a sale. And part of it is the aspect of, the environmental impact assessment, the cases in court that you have, before now. Also the issue of the workers within that particular company, looking at the assets and the liabilities of the company that you want to sell. So it's not as if you're just selling off something, and at the end of the day, those that will buy will not, will now be able to run. Then again, it's also the fact that any company that would actually buy off such an asset, you must show proof that they have the capacity in terms of financial and, the managerial capacity and the operational capacity to be able to run, these, companies. So that is it. So, and I think part of it is the legal hurdle before that, transaction has actually been crossed. That's why they announced, that. So, but there are still other issues in terms of, the workers and so many other things like that that will still need to, be ascertained. But for as far as Shell is concerned, it is the SPDC angle of it that's actually been sold. So you have, Shell, exploration or, unlimited or whatever name they decide to call it. So they are still very much even involved in the NLNG, operations. They have about 25% stake in the NLNG. So that is gas exploration and so many other deep sea, projects, oil exploration that they are still very much involved in. So it's the onshore activity that they are divesting away from.
Right. So I find this news heartwarming. That's the relocation of CBN departments and FAN headquarters to Lagos. I wonder why the Northern Elders are kicking against it.
Ordinarily, the reality is we have actually turned, government establishments to a place where ethnic nationalities find solace and they see it as our thing. So because we monopolize and we unnecessarily overburden, the operations of this activity, and that's why a lot of them are not actually effective in terms of their commercial outlook and their productivity, and that is what has affected the operation of some of these things. We just send people, or we just appoint people on the basis of ethnic considerations, and not necessarily in terms of competence. And at the end of the day, you see some of these decisions, you ask yourself, what is the justification for this kind of a decision? Now you look at the case of FAN. It was just in 2020. Under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari, with Hadi Sirika as the Minister of Aviation, that actually relocated FAN headquarters away from Lagos to Abuja. Relocating them without having an office that can accommodate all of them. Now, you did that, and at the end of the day, you don't have FAN operating from rented offices, where you are incurring costs on behalf of the federal government. Minus that is the fact that, the bulk of aviation activities actually in Lagos. Lagos being the commercial nerve center of the country. So at the end of the day, you have that, and these people were were employed in Lagos. So as they were posted to Abuja, you see government still pays them out of station allowance because you're actually engaging them out of their station. So and that is enormous, resources. And that increases the operational cost for FAN.
Of course.
And at the end of the day, what eventually gets to the federal government, probably in terms of operational, profit after the removal, deduction of all these operational costs, is meager, if not, if non-existent at all. So you have that. Then again, it's also the fact that the current minister now felt that, see, we cannot continue to do that. Since we don't have that, okay, let us have an agreement or sign a concessionary agreement with a company, with some organizations or companies or contractors that will build, these offices that can accommodate in the operations of FAN. But pending when that will be sorted out, let them relocate to Lagos. And because of the volume of air traffic that we have in Lagos, is still more than that of Abuja. So why should the headquarters be? And in Lagos, you have an existing office that can actually accommodate all these people and the operations of FAN. So if that is the case, and that place is actually rotting away. So why should we allow wasting away? So why should we allow that to happen? Just because of ethnic consideration that, let it be in Abuja because Abuja is the north and northerners, so at least we would have our people in all these offices as this and that. So we see it on the basis of just trying to, assist or how I put it. And that is why they said that decision would actually kill the economy of the north. I'm trying to imagine that. So are you saying without federal government, corporations or organizations or agencies, the North cannot survive? And I think that's a lazy man thinking. Because I'm trying to imagine that. Are you talking about a Kogi state that is one of the richest states in Nigeria in terms of mineral resources? You're talking about Plateau State. You're talking about Nasarawa State.
No, so it's a good thing they say it's the northern elders.
Yes.
I
I'm not saying it's a whole lot.
Northern elites would have a different
friends,
I think
Well,
they will look at it more critically from the economic.
Because if you also look at it, they also made such a complaint too, especially with that of the CBN. Because in the case of CBN, it's not the headquarters that are actually being relocated from Lagos.
Some departments.
It's some department, including financial regulations, banks, and other things like that. So, and because if you look at these commercial banks, majority of them have their headquarters in Lagos.
It's just natural.
It's just natural and sensible that you have, your financial regulations, the regulatory department here in Lagos, where at least they can continuously meet with these, heads of agencies. Now, beyond these two, now the CBN and FAN, I think that should be this deliberate policy of the federal government to relocate, all these agencies to places where the operational activities are actually on a high volume. So, what says, for instance, that, and this, it's just a common sense thing. MPA, the headquarters of MPA is in Lagos because of port activities, and you have most of these port activities in Lagos. So, why can't we, and we have the Nigerian Content Development, Board or whatever, NCDB. The headquarters is in Bayelsa, Yenagua. So, why can't we even say, for instance, that the Minister of probably Niger Delta Affairs should actually be operating from the Niger Delta and not in Abuja?
Of course.
If we have the Nigerian Defense Academy, in Kaduna State, and we have many of these military institutions in Kaduna State, so what says that even the defense headquarters should actually probably not be in Kaduna State? So if you have the Nigerian Navy, what should be the headquarters of the Nigerian Navy be in Abuja? When their activity, where is the water in Abuja? These are some of the things that we're talking about. Nigerian Inland Waterways Agency. Why should the headquarters be in Abuja? We're talking about inland waterways. How many inland waterways do we have in the north or in Abuja? So these are things, and we need to look at such that, we can spread it. See, in the United States, there are different government agencies in different states of the federation.
Not unnecessarily concentrated
in Washington. So why should we concentrate everything in Abuja? Why can't we say the Ministry of Solid Minerals, for instance? If we state has probably the highest number of solid minerals, if you say Kogi State, let the Minister of Solid Minerals, let the ministry be in, Kogi State, and probably even say, or probably if you say, Nasarawa State, and the Ministry of Mines and Steel should be in Kogi State, where you have Ajaokuta. If I can even say, for you to really monitor what is going on, relocate your office to Ajaokuta. So that at least the development, you can monitor the operations of this particular, steel rolling mill, and you ensure that it works. See, this should be the mentality, and this should be the
And
approach
I hope
to
that
governance.
I do hope that this is actually their plan, and this is just a
I don't
starting
think so. I don't
point
want to.
for the
I
fans.
well.
No, let's keep hope alive, and let's be
Okay.
optimistic.
So it should not just be a one-off
Let's be
thing.
progressive. So let's not think. I don't think it will be just fun. I think it will cascade down to other agencies.
I'm
and
saying this
ministries.
because that we really need to look
Because
around the whole country. I'm saying this because it should not be a Lagos thing. It should not be a Southwest thing simply because the president is from the Southwest. The
No,
same
I
way
hear you.
where
I hear you. So
I
because at the end of
believe
the
that
day-
there are so many other parts of the country where we really need to allow some of these things to go around.
So that they can also come alive.
They can
and
also come alive, and there
people
could be
can
activities
lead
in some of these
economic
other places.
activities.
See, we have the current minister of trade and investment. She's actually from Imo State. Now, and we know that when it comes to trade and investment in Nigeria, the Southeast has it.
Right.
What says that we cannot have such an agency or a ministry,
In the
at the headquarters of such a ministry, be there? So it's only when they have Federal Executive Council, they come to Abuja, they have the meeting, and they go back.
Right.
See, we don't have to concentrate everything in Abuja, for goodness sake.
I totally agree with you. What is it with Minister Tunji Ojo? Why did he shun the CCB summon over national assignment? Why?
He said he has a particular national assignment that will not allow him to attend the summon at the Code of Conduct Bureau for that particular day. And it's actually being investigated because of this better gate. The fact that
By better, we talk about better.
better I do, sorry.
Nigeria.
We just need to come up with some of these
Oh,
things.
my
right?
world.
So now the idea here is that he founded a company, New Planet Project Company Limited, and as the founder and a shareholder, majority shareholder in that particular company, that company has also been fingered in the consultancy, contracts with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to the tune of about 483 million naira. And the whole of that consultancy amounts to about 3 billion naira. To consultancy, what is it that they want to verify? The lists of vulnerable Nigerians on the social investment register. And they say probably you have about 50 million of them, and you need 3 billion naira to verify. Is that not if ridiculous as a name? Seriously. And as part of it, his company got that. And he is saying that I no longer run that company. Legally, you might say he probably has not committed any infraction. But then that is now left for the CCB to decide that did you actually declare the ownership of this particular company even in your asset declaration form? Who is running it? Who is now the director, the executive director there? You left, he said, so who did you hand over to? Or did you just hand over to your wife? Because he and his wife are actually directors in that particular company. They also have probably other shareholders who are probably part of government. And to another extent is the fact that is there no issue of conflict of interest in this particular matter. And he is saying there is no conflict of interest because it was not his ministry that actually awarded such a contract. And for the fact that he is in government does not mean that the company should not be operational anymore. That's for him. It's not my business to actually defend him or to actually repeat all that he has said. It's for him to actually go for that summon. But he said he has a national assignment. So it is up to the CCB to actually accept such an excuse and probably fix another date for him to. So I just hope it's not to be
contempt. No,
yes.
Because ideally, whatever national assignment
does it override it? And is it that it will not allow you see? I can go for a national assignment in the morning and report to the CCB
because
office
I'm
in the
just going
afternoon.
to answer questions. That's all. My hands are clean. I just want to answer questions.
So, if I can say, please, can you reschedule the timing?
Yes.
Or something. So, although he wrote to them that he would not be able to honor that particular
let's
give him the benefit of the doubt.
That he will,
because I'm saying this in the light of the fact that I find it disappointing that the so-called poster boy of this Tinubu administration is actually the one that is enmeshed and embroiled in this particular thing. Because as far as I'm concerned, he has been doing a yeoman's job as far as the Ministry of Interior is concerned, seriously. And we have to give it to him. But unfortunately, see, regardless of whether you like him or not, that has nothing to do with the fact that this is issue of governance. And if at all you have soiled your hand in the cookie jar, then you must
face the music. Right. We now cross out of Nigeria to the foreign scene. Let's start off with Netanyahu. He's rejected the U.S. push for Palestinian state. First things first, that the U.S. is even pushing for a Palestinian state. I find that laughable because I feel I don't think it's from their hearts, knowing what roles they've played. But anyways, U.S. has pushed for a Palestinian state. Netanyahu has rejected that. Where are we on this whole issue?
Well, as far as the Israel, Palestinian war is concerned, the killing, the bombardment of Gaza continues. We have over 25,000 dead officially, and I'm saying this because there are still over about 8,000 people that are unaccounted for, who are assumed to have actually been dead under the rubbles, and because they cannot have access to it, they cannot evacuate them. So you have such people buried under the rubble. That is that, and you have over 60,000 people injured. So that is as far as the casualty figures is concerned, and you have over 85% of Gazan citizens displaced,
Right.
and you have over almost about 70% of infrastructure in Gaza already destroyed. Right. By the government of Israel. Now, I'm saying this, and I want to underline it, the fact that all these things have been made possible with the weapons supplied by the Western powers. Yeah. Now, you now have that. And at the end of the day, regardless of the calls for ceasefire, the case that has been said at the ICJ by South Africa, you also have the fact that regardless of the calls, even from the European Union, where majority of the members who actually even voted for a ceasefire, even at the level of the United Nations, where majority of nations supported a ceasefire, because those are calls the shots. Well, even when the United Nations is concerned, that's the United States and Britain really have not seen any reason why Israel should start, and because they're actually the one empowering Israel. And as far as this is concerned, the reality is there are so many other reasons beyond it. It's a lot of people just look at October 7th. This is not about an October 7th thing. This is something before October 7th, and this is something after October 7th. We know quite well that the Gazan oil field is very, very rich, and some people really want to have access to it. Also have the fact that they actually want to construct a Ben Gurion canal. So there are so many issues underneath.
That's why the real thing is level of the place.
Level of the place. And another thing is also the fact that Israel wants to annex that place and, push out, ethnically cleanse, Palestinians away from Gaza.
Right.
So that is the plan. And at the end of the day, now, in the case of the U.S. pushing for a Palestinian state, I think that it is not in the place of the U.S. to push for a Palestinian state because they are complicit in the killing of Palestinians as it stands. That's number one.
Why I said it's
number two is, and the kind of Palestinian state they are even pushing for, they are pushing for a Palestinian state where Saudi Arabia will be the one that will administer Gaza. Does it make any sense?
Because Palestinians cannot do themselves.
So because Palestinians can really not govern themselves, does it make any sense? Or that you would say that, it is, the Arabians or, Saudi Arabia or Jordan that will be in charge of their military, that will provide them the military or a peacekeeping force or whatsoever. And now, regardless of all that, that's why the fact that it is U.S. that is actually giving Israel all the backing. Israel is still saying that the U.S. cannot dictate to them as regards what they would do with Gaza post-war. And they are saying that they must be the ones that will be in charge of Gaza. And that is what he's saying, that they are the ones that would determine the fate of Gazans. Israel.
It's still,
so it's just mere
That's why I
rhetoric.
said that's why I said this is
It's
not
just mere
for real.
rhetoric. So it's a case of let us continue to kill them for as long as possible. So at the end of it, if the pressure is too much, Egypt will be forced to open up the Sinai border for them, to be pushed to. And at the end of the day, you also now look at it. Now, because of the genocide that's actually going on there, now it is the duty of every nation to prevent the continuation of this genocide. And that is what Yemen is trying to do. That no, we will not allow you to continue to supply weapons to Israel for this genocide to continue. And on that basis, let us stop this. Now, what did we have in return? The U.S. continuing attack. U.S., UK attacking Yemen just because they have decided that any ship going to Israel, they will not allow it. And the attacks has continued. And unfortunately, Biden himself has come out to say that, unfortunately, we have attacked Yemen now 5 times. But that has not stopped the attack of ship, because Yemen has now widened the scale of the attack. It's not even about any Israeli ship now or any ship going to Israel. It's any ship apart from the U.S. That has links to the U.S., to the UK, or to Israel will not be allowed to pass there.
Right. Just a quick break and we'll be right back. welcome back. It's still News Review, and Dr. OLUBUNMI is still here. Let's quickly go to Iran, Pakistan. They've agreed to de-escalate the tensions after the tit-for-tat attacks. I mean, when I hear the way you put it, tit-for-tat, sounds like a child's play, like kids on the field, just doing...
Now, the thing there was, it was rather unfortunate, and people felt that Iran is actually overstepping its bounds. And what happened is the fact that Iran attacked some positions in Iraq, and it also attacked some positions in Pakistan. And it claimed that those were terrorist sites, that some terrorists were actually operating from such areas, and for that reason, that it's actually it's a preemptive strike, against those terrorists. Now, the basis upon which Pakistan reacted is the fact that violated our sovereignty by just carrying out such an attack without involving us or without informing us, and no, we will not take that. And that attack, about 2 or 3 people were killed. So Pakistan now decided that we would also retaliate. Mm-hmm. So Pakistan also now struck some targets in Iran, and he said, well, that this particular terrorist group that is also operating from such an area, and that we also targeted such people, 9 people dead. So, and apart from that, Pakistan has recalled its ambassador to Iran, and the Iranian ambassador to Pakistan went home to Iran and is scheduled to actually be back in Pakistan, but he has not been allowed to return. So at the end of the day, now the foreign ministers are actually now discussing, and on Friday, yesterday, they started negotiations and just to de-escalate the whole thing. That, see, let us have an understanding of this matter. At this point in time, this is not what we need. We actually have a common enemy in Israel, and that's the way they put it, that we have a common enemy in Israel. That is actually Israel that has actually been attacking different sites in different countries in the Arabian world in the name of, targets or one terrorist attack or the other terrorist groups or whatsoever. When we know quite well that some of these groups are actually even being funded by, the Western powers. So that we don't need to actually be divided among ourselves. So if anything, let us cooperate together. So and that's why they feel like, okay, so the attack should stop. Then there should be no violation of the sovereignty of any of the nation that you have in the Middle East, regardless of those people that you think how terrorists regardless of whatever thing they are doing, even if it is a terrorist activity, there should be synergy and cooperation between your own country and our own security forces. So at the end of the day, we would unite together to actually fight and eliminate these terrorists operating from whichever point within our common areas, rather than just taking a unilateral action, a preemptive strike without informing the other nation. It's a slap on our faces that you are saying that some people are operating in our area, we don't know, and it is you that is outside our country that knows that these people are operating, and you are don't taking such an attack. So, and I feel that that mutual respect, if it is actually followed and honored, I think that would be the escalation, and at the end of the day, they will not be able to. They won't be doing that to themselves, because at the end of the day, so many lives will be lost. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't really think that that's justified, that you just kill people, because at the end of the day, it might jolly well be some people that would actually even die, and not necessarily these terrorists. If you say that they are operating from this area, it does not mean that they're actually resident there. So that is something that we really need to look at.
Right. On that note, that's how far we can go on the show this beautiful Saturday. We'll be back same time next week. We'll be back, right?
We're back. We are back. No, we are back.
We are back for good. Yeah. Mashallah tabarakallah. So we'll see you next week. With another beautiful package of News Review. My name is AMINAT Adams, and inshallah ta'ala we'll see you then.
I remember OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Please stay safe. Then be prayerful too for all these people, including Nigeria, that at least we'll get it right, and at the end of the day, we have a better world for us all to live in.
All right then, bye.